And here we are again. What's going on, everybody? It's the man, the myth, the one and only J Legend, also known as your captain of Squad X, and I'm here today to give you none other than your weekly prescribed question time. Now, for my new subscribers who don't know, question time is the section of my channel where I answer questions that you've asked me in the comment section of my latest Bleach chapter review regarding the latest chapter and the latest events of Bleach. So nonetheless, let's just dive right into things, but right after that intro. Alright guys, now I've already selected the questions I'm going to answer this week, and you know, some of you guys asked me some really good questions that can lead into some very good discussion videos. The reason I'm not going to have like both my swords here and take them both out is just simply because it's a little bit awkward trying to read the messages from my phone and hold two katanas at the same time. Like, my name's not Zoro, I can't message everyone at the same time. I can't do that all at the same time. And that was the Squad 00 group. I'm going to mute that so that doesn't disturb us, so thank you for your patience. Nonetheless, let's just dive into things. Alright, now the first question I'm going to answer comes from Hayama Akira, and he asked me this: do you think that only his hands will be these sacred beings known in the Bleach world? Or do you think that it will be also be his legs? Even though his legs would seem weird. Yeah, it would seem weird, but they are also missing from his body. Yeah, I understand what he's talking about. What Hayama is referring to is basically the limbs of the Soul King. In Bleach so far, we've seen that the right hand of the Soul King is essentially like its own deity that can be prayed to and basically assist people and like basically perform miracles such as keeping Ukitake alive when he should have been dead. We've also seen, like in the latest chapter, which basically the name of this hand was called Porinda, but Mayuri Kurasuchi originally thought it to be the left hand of the Soul King. Whether that is or is not the case, we still don't know. But if we go on the assumption that it is, it would make sense that you know, the different parts of the Soul King are essentially deities in themselves, which they can be prayed to and can perform miracles. And I'm gonna agree with that, because there's another person that asked me that question a little bit in a different way but more in depth, and I'm gonna dive into that and go into a deeper discussion further later on in this video. So I'm going to answer his question next while answering your question at the same time, so that way I'll kind of kill two birds in one stone. I apologize about that, that's an important phone call. Sometimes when you have Apple products, they synchronize together, and what happens is even my phone doesn't ring, my laptop will ring and let me know I'm getting a message. So nonetheless, let's get back into the video, and sorry for the jump cut, but let's keep things professional and just dive straight into the next question and carrying on from the point that I left on. Now, the point that I left on was basically about the different limbs of the Soul King, and I was about to answer this question. This actually a question comes from a subscriber of mine called Soul King, oddly enough. Alright, so now the question is this: a Shinigami was the right arm, and a Quincy, probably now dead, is the left arm of the Soul King. If this is true, then would the left and right legs maybe be hollows and fullbringers? Now I'm glad he mentioned that. I'm gonna there's a second part to this question, but I'm gonna answer that in a little bit. Basically, I do kind of see where he's coming from there, and this is something that I thought about, and which is why I said I'm gonna go on to his question before I finish answering the previous question. And the reason for that is this: I do believe that, you know, the right arm of the Soul King, left arm of the Soul King are different deities to be prayed to and can do certain things in Bleach. Now, let me go into this a little bit further. Let's add some more credibility to it. This is just all theory and speculating, because we don't know this for a fact. I don't write this stuff. But nonetheless, look at what the right hand of the Soul King is able to perform. It's able to perform miracles such as, like, you know, keeping people alive. Like, so, you know, it seems to be, like, you know, strong and stable. And like basically it's almost like it stands for stability. Does that make sense? For what it's able to do for Ukitake, keep his power stable, keep him alive and keep him stable, and based on the description of it that we saw in previous chapters. Did you see where I'm going? Now let's look at what we seem to be as the left hand of the Soul King. If the left hand of the Soul King is indeed Star Knight C Porinda, you see that his powers are called like the compulsory, basically able to distort things. It makes sense that one is able to keep things stable, but one is able to shift and distort things. They are two polar opposites, both yin and yang, and that is a common theme seen in most Japanese anime and manga. Does that not make sense? So it does make sense that you have the right arm of the Soul King being able to do one thing, such as being able to like stabilize powers, like basically for stability. Sorry, wow, tongue twisted. And then having the left arm of the Soul King being able to like distort things and basically essentially cause chaos. It makes perfect sense if you look at it from a yin and yang standpoint. Now, if the different limbs here represent the different beings in the Bleach universe, this also makes sense as well. You have the right arm, which would essentially be Quincy, which is what Soul King said, which is a theory that I came up with as well, which is why I moved on to it, because he touched on the point that I was thinking on. The right arm being a Shinigami, like basically Shinigami related, being able to Shinigami able to pray to it and it perform miracles and such for them. The left arm being the one for Quincy's, being able to do things for them. And then maybe the left and right leg being able to do things for either like such as Fullbringers, which are essentially humans, and Hollows. Alright? That makes perfect sense, because then you have all four beings in the Bleach universe, and that makes sense. and how it will tie into them both yin and yang, because they're opposites. Like Shinigami and Quincy. Shinigami and Quincy are opposites. Left and right hand are opposites. Then let's say left leg is for example hollows, and then right leg would be for example humans / Fullbringers. It would make sense because they're polar opposites. Humans and hollows are opposites. Shinigami and Quincy are opposites, and it would make sense as opposing body parts, and in terms of the whole yin and yang theme of most Japanese culture and anime and manga, it makes perfect sense. Now, that's just a theory. It could be completely wrong and blown out of the water, but it's something that I noticed and something that obviously my subscribers have picked up on as well. And you know, I commend all my subscribers, like, you know, for whoever's picked up on that, because it takes a very analytical eye to be able to see those things. And if it does end up being something like that, that is seriously epic foreshadowing by Kubo on his part. Speaking of epic foreshadowing, let me move on to the next part of this question. The next part of the question reads as follows. Foreshadowing Ichigo as the next Soul King, since Uryu is Yuha's successor. Maybe Ichigo is the Soul King's successor because Nimaya said that the Soul King was interested in Ichigo. Now, that is a very good point. Although I don't agree with it, it does have credibility and it does tie in. That's his own theory. Like, I don't believe Ichigo is going to be the next Soul King, but I do believe that Ichigo being like basically a combination of all the different beings in the Bleach universe, being human himself and Fullbringer. Fullbringers are humans that were affected by hollows as when their mother had them inside them pregnant. That makes sense. He's also part hollow. He's also part Quincy because of his mother, and he's also Shinigami because of his father. He is a composition or a construct of all the different beings in the Bleach universe. So therefore, he would have if our theories are correct, he would have an affinity with the left arm, right leg and left leg of the Soul King. Therefore, it would make sense that the Soul King would be interested in meeting him, and why the Royal Guard would say that, since they carry out the Soul King's orders directly. It makes perfect sense. Now, that's just my general thoughts about that. I do believe that, you know, they are the different arms and limbs are essentially deities within themselves in the Bleach universe, but I don't believe that Ichigo is going to become the next Soul King. Although it does make sense where he's going with it, in the sense that you know, Uryu is Yuha's successor, so wouldn't it make sense that, you know, Ichigo being a Shinigami, the opposite of him? But the reason why that kind of backfires on itself is because Ichigo isn't just Shinigami. If Ichigo was like, you know, pure Shinigami, it would make sense that, okay, you're to be the next successor of the Soul King based on all of this, but it doesn't quite tie in because he's a construct of everything. Do you understand where I'm coming from? So that's just my general thoughts about that. Yes, I do believe that the different arms and stuff represent different deities, and there's probably like some kind of like Japanese mythology behind that I just don't know of. But I'll look into and I'll read and I'll let you guys know. Now, let's move on to another question. Who is it I was going to answer? It was this one, yes, from Soul Madness, and this will probably be the last question that I'm going to answer. Alright, it says, Kubo stated that Shunsui's Pink Hiyori will have a past, and it will be important later on in the arc. Can you elaborate on this, or do you have any theories and importance to this? Okay, now, one of my subscribers, yeah, Randall Palmer, basically gave his own theory, but his theory was exactly in line with what I was thinking, so I'm going to give him part credit for this too. He says, Randall Palmer then goes on to say that, you know, I'm not J-Legend, which is me, obviously, but has anybody questioned if Shunsui's robe was made by Shutara, obviously one of the Royal Guard? And that's exactly what I was about to go on with it before he even mentioned it. Now, she's the goddess of weaving, and his false Zanpakuto spirit does resemble her a lot, and that's exactly what I was going to go for it. If you look at the movie, the Zanpakuto Rebellion arc, where you look at Shunsui's Zanpakuto's spirits, they do resemble Shutara a little bit, and it would make sense if Kubo has stated himself that Shunsui's robe has some kind of importance to it, then would it not make sense that it was made by Shutara, the goddess of weaving, because then that robe would then have special properties, and maybe there was some kind of relationship between them before, because we know how Shunsui's my favourite captain, but we know how he is with women. He's all over them, like kind of like myself. He can't help himself. So yeah, when you look at things from that standpoint, it does have credibility and it does make sense, and it's something that I'm gonna go with. I'll actually go with that for you because that's something that I was thinking beforehand, before my subscriber even mentioned it. And that's all the questions I'm gonna answer for question time. So we covered quite a good discussion in this video. Like, we covered, like, you know, the Soul King, what the different limbs of him could be. We also covered, like, you know, further in depth of it, like in terms of what Ichigo could end up being in the end of the series. And we also covered basically the possibility of what is Shunsui, my favourite captain, it's not a secret, what his robe could then potentially mean later on. I'm not sure as in terms of what his robe specifically could be. We know that Ichigo's robes allowed him to pass in and out of the Soul Palace. Shunsui, I don't believe his robe does the same thing, for the simple reason because he would have been able to travel up there earlier on, because he said that, you know, he can't do that. So that's not what the purpose of the robe is. What do I think it can be? I personally think it's something to do related to his bankai. Obviously, I have no clue what that is, and that would be a complete wild guess, which I'm not going to do that. But nonetheless, that's personally what I think it could be. What do you guys think it could be? What do you guys think about the theories and basically points of discussion that were brought up in this video by yourself and some of my subscribers? Let me know in the comment section below. But until then, it's your boy J Legend, also known as your captain of Squad X. Remember to follow me on Xbox Live, my Facebook fan page, Twitter fan page. Annotations will pop up on screen right about now, and links will be in the description below. Remember to follow me. We're almost at 100 likes. By the time we get 100 likes, we'll have a special giveaway. But until then, I'm signing out. Take care and peace.